Welcome back to Afterlife Message. If you're enjoying these explorations of life, death, and the mysteries in between, hit that subscribe button, like this episode, share it with your friends, and don't forget to tap that bell icon so you never miss an upload. Today we're diving deep into the extraordinary experiences of a man named John Smith, who claims to have had not one but two near-death experiences.
Wow, two.
And he didn't just glimpse the other side. He came back with profound messages about humanity, the universe, and our place within it all.
I'm ready.
John's story begins in 2005 in the breathtaking landscape of Alaska. Now imagine this. He's grappling with a severe kidney ailment, and to add to his struggles, he finds himself without a home. Life had dealt him a difficult hand, to say the least.
It's incredible to consider how hardship can sometimes become a catalyst for profound spiritual experiences. It's as if facing those immense challenges, the loss of material security and the looming presence of mortality, it's like it stripped away the superficial layers of John's life and left him raw, vulnerable, and open to receiving something truly extraordinary.
That's a powerful thought. Like being stripped bare allows for a new kind of receptivity, a new understanding of what truly matters.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's precisely when John had his first near-death experience. He described this incredible feeling of being reborn, emerging not from a human womb, but from the protective embrace of a mother bear. As he floated outside of his physical body, he was enveloped by an overwhelming sense of love and wisdom, so profound that it began to heal deep-seated emotional wounds from his childhood.
That imagery of being reborn from a bear is striking. It speaks to a primal connection with nature, with the raw, untamed power of life itself. It suggests a return to a source of strength and resilience. I wonder if this first NDE was a way of preparing him, strengthening him for even more profound revelations to come.
Almost like a cosmic initiation,
right,
preparing him for a deeper journey. And just a few weeks later, John had his second near-death experience. This time he found himself in what he describes as a grand, bustling train station. But it wasn't a final destination, not an ending point. He perceived it more as a place of connection, a vibrant hub where souls were converging and diverging. He even sensed other beings undergoing similar transitions, caught in this intricate dance of arrivals and departures.
That train station analogy is a recurring theme in near-death experiences, and it's always fascinating to unpack. Instead of a finality, it suggests a transition, a point of convergence and choice. It makes you wonder if those other beings were experiencing similar revelations, and what choices they were making in this grand cosmic station.
It begs the question, what were those tracks leading to, and were those souls choosing their paths? Now, during the second NDE, John received some truly profound revelations about the nature of reality and our purpose here. One of the most striking insights was that we're not just physical beings, we're souls inhabiting these bodies to gather wisdom through a vast spectrum of experiences. It's as if we're here to learn, to grow, to evolve through the very act of living.
It flips the script on how we typically perceive life, doesn't it? We often get so caught up in the material world and our daily routines that we forget this bigger picture. John's experience suggests we're not just physical bodies going through the motions, we're souls on a grand adventure, using these physical forms to navigate and learn from this incredible world.
It's like we're playing a character in a vast cosmic play. In each scene, each interaction is an opportunity for growth and understanding.
I love that analogy.
But here's where it gets even more intriguing. John describes a golden thread of light that connects everything in the universe, a vibrant web of energy binding us all together. Yet he also perceived how our beliefs, our rigid perceptions of truth, can actually sever these connections, creating separation and isolation where there should be unity.
That's a powerful and perhaps unsettling image. It suggests that our insistence on being right, on clinging to our limited viewpoints, can actually block us from experiencing the fullness of this interconnected reality. It's almost as if we're building walls instead of bridges with our thoughts.
It challenges us to really examine our beliefs, doesn't it? To ask ourselves whether they're truly serving us or whether they're creating more separation than connection in our lives.
Absolutely.
John went on to explain that the soul has an innate awareness of this interconnected reality, a deep understanding of the grand tapestry of existence. But the ego, that part of us focused on the individual self, filters this reality through its limited beliefs, obscuring the full picture.
This distinction between the soul and the ego is crucial to understanding John's message. He seems to be suggesting that the ego, with its fears and insecurities, keeps us trapped in a narrow, fragmented view of reality. It's like looking at the world through a tiny keyhole, only seeing a small fraction of what's actually there. The soul, on the other hand, sees the whole panorama, the vast expanse of interconnectedness.
It makes you wonder what we're missing out on, by clinging so tightly to those limited ego-driven perspectives. Perhaps the most comforting revelation John brought back is that Source, the ultimate creative force behind everything, loves humanity unconditionally and profoundly. No matter our mistakes, no matter how far we stray, we are held in this boundless love. It's a message of hope and reassurance, a reminder that we're always connected to something much greater than ourselves.
It's a profoundly reassuring message, isn't it? Especially in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain, knowing that we're held in this unconditional love no matter what can be incredibly liberating and empowering. It allows us to let go of fear and embrace the journey with a greater sense of trust and surrender.
But here's where things get even more fascinating. John believes humanity is in the midst of a great shift, a period of profound transformation on both an individual and collective level. And he points to some rather specific events as evidence, including the 2020 U.S. presidential election. He believes it was a catalyst for change, a cosmic trigger designed to shake us out of complacency and propel us toward a new way of being.
Now, that's a bold statement, and I'm sure it will evoke different reactions from different people. It's important to remember that we're not here to endorse or refute John's specific interpretation of events. What's fascinating is the bigger question he's raising. Are we, as a species, at a turning point? Are we undergoing a collective shift in consciousness? And if so, what are the signs, and how do we navigate this uncharted territory?
It's a question worth pondering. What events, what shifts are we witnessing in our world today that might point toward this great shift? And John believes this transformation isn't limited to humanity. He claims that Mother Earth is also going through a cleansing process, shedding old energies to make way for the new. He even views natural disasters events that often bring suffering and destruction as necessary forces of change, part of a larger cycle of renewal and rebirth.
It's a perspective that challenges us to look beyond our immediate discomfort and consider the bigger picture. If we accept the idea of a planetary shift, a cosmic evolution, then perhaps these seemingly destructive events are playing a role in that process. It's a bit like a forest fire. It seems devastating at first, but it ultimately clears the way for new growth, for a revitalized ecosystem.
So in the midst of all this change, this transformation, how do we navigate these turbulent waters? What can we do to prepare ourselves for this great shift?
John offers some guidance based on his experiences. He urges us to let go of fear, to align with the perspective of our souls, and to trust that everything is unfolding as it should. It's a call for surrender, for releasing our need to control and predict the future, and for embracing the present moment with courage and faith.
It's easier said than done, of course.
Yeah.
But I think the idea of aligning with the soul's perspective is key. If we can tap into that deeper part of ourselves, the part that's not bound by fear, the part that sees the bigger picture, then letting go becomes a little less daunting.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here, and I know this is a lot to digest. What resonates with you most in John's message? What sparks your curiosity? And here's a question to really get those wheels turning. If you had the chance to receive wisdom during a near-death experience, what question would you most want answered?
Oh, that's a tough one. So many questions come to mind, but I think the one I'd most want answered is, what is my soul's purpose? What am I here to learn and experience in this lifetime?
That's a beautiful question, and one that I think many of us ponder, whether consciously or unconsciously. It speaks to that innate desire within us to find meaning and purpose in our lives.
Exactly. We all want to know why we're here, what our unique contribution to the world is.
And perhaps that's part of the journey of aligning with the soul's perspective. It's about discovering our purpose and then living it to the fullest.
Absolutely. It's about becoming the best version of ourselves and sharing our gifts with the world.
And maybe that's the essence of this great shift. It's about humanity waking up to its true potential, realizing its interconnectedness, and creating a world that reflects the love and wisdom we carry within us.
I love that vision.
A world where we're all living in alignment with our souls, expressing our unique gifts, and contributing to the collective good.
That's a world I want to be a part of.
Me too. And I believe it's a world we're capable of creating if we choose to embrace the transformative power of this great shift.
Absolutely. It all starts with each of us making that choice to step into our power and align with our highest truth.
And that's a choice we can make every single day. Every moment is an opportunity to choose love over fear, connection over separation, and growth over stagnation.
So true. It's not about waiting for some grand event or external circumstance. The power to transform our lives and the world around us lies within us right here, right now.
And that's an incredibly empowering message. It reminds us that we're not just passive observers in this cosmic play. We're active participants, co-creators of our reality.
And that's a responsibility we can't afford to take lightly.
Well said. I think that's a perfect place to pause for now. We've covered a lot of ground, and I'm sure our listeners have plenty to ponder.
Thank you.
But before we go, I want to leave you with this thought. What if this great shift isn't something that's happening to us, but something we're actively creating through our thoughts, beliefs, and actions? What if we have more power to shape our individual and collective reality than we realize? It's a question worth contemplating, and one we'll explore further in our next episode.
I can't wait.
Until then, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining your light.
And remember, the answers you seek are already within you.
Thanks for joining us on Afterlife Message. We'll see you next time.
It's truly humbling to consider the vastness of these concepts. A great shift, a transforming earth, and the call to relinquish our fear. What resonates deeply with me is this idea of aligning with the soul's perspective. It reminds us that there's a part of us, a deeper self, that's not bound by the limitations of our ego, a part already intertwined with the universal love and wisdom that John describes.
It's as if we have this internal compass, this soul GPS, guiding us through the chaos and uncertainty. But learning to trust its directions, especially when they seem counterintuitive or even daunting, is the real challenge. You mentioned how John highlighted specific events like the 2020 election as evidence of this great shift. What other occurrences in the world might support this concept of a collective transformation?
Let's see. Well, consider the growing awareness of our interconnectedness, the surge in mindfulness and spiritual practices, the emphasis on sustainability and environmentalism. These could be interpreted as signs of humanity awakening, becoming more conscious, and aligning with a new set of values.
It's like we're starting to grasp that we're not just isolated individuals, but threads woven into a larger tapestry of life. And our actions, our choices, create ripples that extend far beyond ourselves.
Exactly.
However, John also discussed events often perceived as negative or destructive, like natural disasters. How does that fit into this picture?
That's where the idea of cleansing comes into play. Just as our bodies shed old cells and toxins to maintain health, perhaps the planet also undergoes periods of purging and renewal. It may not always be pleasant, but it could be essential for growth.
It's similar to a forest fire. It initially appears devastating, but it ultimately clears the path for new life, for a revitalized ecosystem to emerge. Perhaps these seemingly negative events, if viewed through this lens, are opportunities for transformation.
It's a powerful way to reframe things.
So what's the key takeaway for our listeners? How can we apply these concepts of soul-searching and transformation to our lives?
I believe it boils down to this. John is urging us to embrace the present moment, to let go of our anxieties about the unknown, and to trust that we're exactly where we're meant to be. It's a call to shift our focus from clinging to the past or worrying about the future, and to find peace and perhaps even joy in the now.
It's like that saying, worrying is like paying interest on a debt you may never owe. It doesn't change the situation. It only steals our joy from the present moment. If we're truly amidst a great shift, if everything is unfolding as it should, what role do we play? Are we simply passive passengers on this cosmic journey, or do we have agency, the power to influence the direction things are heading?
I believe John would answer with a resounding yes. We may not control external events, but we can control our internal world, our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. And these choices, however insignificant they may seem, create ripples that affect the world around us.
So it's not about passively waiting for the transformation to happen to us. It's about actively participating, making conscious choices that align with the values of love, compassion, and interconnectedness.
Precisely. It's about becoming the change we want to see in the world, about becoming conscious co-creators of our reality, both individually and collectively.
Now we're venturing into exciting territory, tapping into our power as co-creators of reality. This brings us to another fascinating aspect of John's message, the power of beliefs. He mentioned that our beliefs could sever our connection to that universal web of light. Can you elaborate on that?
It's a concept that's both challenging and liberating. John suggests that our beliefs, especially those that are rigid, limiting, or rooted in fear, can create a barrier between us and the truth of who we are. They act as filters, distorting our perception of reality and trapping us in thought patterns and behaviors that no longer serve us.
So it's not just that our beliefs shape our reality, they can limit our experience of it. We might be blocking out a full spectrum of possibilities because we're clinging to beliefs that no longer resonate with our truest selves.
Precisely. This ties back to the distinction between the soul and the ego we discussed earlier. The soul perceives the world with open eyes, with a sense of wonder and possibility. The ego, constantly striving to define, categorize, and control, clings to beliefs as a way to make sense of the world and protect itself from perceived threats.
If our beliefs can limit us, then changing them could liberate us. But how do we go about doing that?
It's a journey of self-discovery, and it begins with becoming aware of the beliefs we hold, especially those that are unconscious or deeply ingrained. It's about questioning their validity and being willing to let go of the ones that no longer serve us.
It's like cleaning out our mental closets, discarding those outdated and ill-fitting clothes that are just taking up space.
I love that analogy.
Once we've cleared out some of those limiting beliefs, what then? How do we cultivate beliefs that support our growth and evolution?
That's where aligning with the soul comes in again. It's about tapping into that deeper part of ourselves, that inner compass that knows our true potential. It's about listening to our intuition, following our heart's desires, and choosing to believe in a reality that aligns with our highest good.
So it's not about blindly adopting someone else's beliefs, but cultivating our own personal truth, a truth that resonates with our soul's journey.
Exactly. It's about consciously creating our belief systems, choosing beliefs that empower, uplift, and connect us to that web of universal love and wisdom John describes.
This is incredibly powerful. It's a call to step into our power as conscious creators of our reality. But let's be honest, change can be scary. What advice might John offer to those who resist this idea of transformation, who might even be afraid of the future?
I think John would remind us that fear is a natural human experience. It's a primal instinct designed to protect us from danger. However, he would also say that fear can become a prison, trapping us in limiting beliefs and preventing us from embracing our full potential. He would encourage us to acknowledge our fears but not let them control us, to remember that we are not our fears and that we have the power to choose love over fear, courage over comfort, and faith over doubt.
It's like choosing to step out of the shadows and into the light, even if it feels blinding at first.
Beautiful imagery.
Let's bring this back to John's experience. He spoke about this profound connection to Source, this overwhelming feeling of unconditional love during his NDEs. Do you think that's something accessible to everyone, or was it specific to his near-death experience?
I believe the love and wisdom John describes are available to all of us, whether we've had a near-death experience or not. It's our birthright as spiritual beings. The challenge lies in how often we get caught up in the world's noise and distractions and forget how to access it. We forget that at our core, we are beings of love connected to a source of infinite love and wisdom.
So it's not about seeking something outside ourselves, but about remembering who we truly are. It's about peeling away the layers of conditioning, the limiting beliefs and the fears that separate us from that love.
Precisely. It's about returning to our natural state of wholeness, of connection, of love. It's a journey we can all embark on regardless of our past experiences or current circumstances.
You mentioned earlier that this great shift isn't just about individual transformation, it's also about planetary transformation. John even talked about the Earth cleansing and renewing herself. Could you expand on that? What does a transforming Earth look like?
That question ignites the imagination. It invites us to envision a world that is more harmonious, sustainable, and aligned with the rhythms of nature. Perhaps it's a world where humanity has learned to live in balance with the Earth, healing our relationship with nature and each other. A world where love, compassion, and cooperation are the guiding principles instead of fear, greed, and competition.
That's a beautiful vision, but it also feels distant from where we are now with all the challenges we face: climate change, social unrest, political division. How do we bridge that gap between the reality we see and the world we want to create?
I believe it starts with each of us taking responsibility for our thoughts, beliefs, and actions. It's about making conscious choices that align with the values of a transformed world, choosing love over fear, kindness over judgment, and cooperation over competition.
So it's not about waiting for someone else to fix the world, but about becoming the change we want to see. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, understanding that our actions have ripple effects, and believing that even small acts of love and kindness can contribute to a larger shift in consciousness.
Exactly. It's about understanding that we're not passive observers in this great shift. We're active participants.
Yeah.
We have the power to co-create a more just, peaceful, and loving world, a responsibility we can't afford to ignore.
John also mentioned beings from other planets, beings he believes are already here to support us in this transformation. It might sound far-fetched to some, but many spiritual traditions and even scientific circles have explored this concept. What are your thoughts on extraterrestrial involvement in human evolution?
It's a topic filled with speculation and mystery, and I approach it with an open mind and a healthy dose of skepticism. It's crucial to differentiate between what we know for sure, what's based on credible evidence, and what remains pure speculation. That being said, I find it fascinating to consider the possibility that we're not alone in the universe and that other intelligent beings might be interested in our evolution, perhaps even playing a role in it.
It opens up a realm of incredible possibilities. And it makes you wonder what wisdom or knowledge these other beings might have to share. We've explored so much today, from near-death experiences and soul journeys to planetary transformation and extraterrestrial involvement. It's a lot to process, and I imagine our listeners might be feeling a little overwhelmed by this cosmic information. So let's ground ourselves for a moment and focus on some practical takeaways. What are some simple things our listeners can do to align with this great shift? Cultivate a deeper connection with their souls, and embrace the present moment?
That's a great question, and it probably deserves a whole episode on its own, but for now I'd say start with the basics. Cultivate a practice of gratitude. Spend time in nature. Connect with like-minded individuals. Explore different spiritual practices and see what resonates with you. And above all, be kind to yourself. This is a journey, not a destination, and there's no need to rush or strive for perfection. Take one step at a time, one breath at a time, and trust that you're being guided every step of the way.
I love that. It's about taking small, consistent actions that nourish our souls and connect us to that inner wisdom. It's about remembering that we're not alone on this journey, and that support is available every step of the way.
Exactly.
This has been an incredible conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and wisdom with us. I know our listeners will have much to contemplate and explore after this episode.
I hope so. It's intriguing how we often seek guidance from external sources, experts, gurus, even extraterrestrial beings, when the wisdom we crave is already within us. It's as if we've forgotten that we possess an internal compass, that soul GPS, capable of guiding us to our highest truth and potential.
We search for answers in all the wrong places when they've been within us all along, waiting to be rediscovered. It reminds me of the line from the movie The Matrix. You already know the answer. Maybe the real journey isn't about finding the answers, but about remembering them, about clearing away the clutter that obscures our access to that inner wisdom.
Exactly. It's about shedding those layers of conditioning, the limiting beliefs, the fears that separate us from our true selves, from our connection to Source, to that universal web of love and wisdom that John described.
So how do we do that? How do we tap into that soul GPS, that inner compass? John mentioned letting go of fear, aligning with the soul's perspective. But how do we put that into practice?
I believe it starts with cultivating presence, being fully present in the moment, instead of dwelling on the past or worrying about the future. When we're present, we become more attuned to our inner voice, to the subtle whispers of intuition, which is often how the soul communicates with us.
So it's about quieting the mind, silencing that constant mental chatter that distracts us from our inner truth. Meditation, mindfulness practices, spending time in nature, these are all ways to cultivate presence, to become more aware of the thoughts and feelings driving our actions.
Right. And once we become more aware, we can start to question those thoughts and feelings. Are they serving us? Are they aligned with our highest good? Are they based in love or in fear? If not, we can choose to let them go, replacing them with thoughts and beliefs that are more empowering, uplifting, and aligned with who we truly are.
It's like weeding our mental garden, pulling out those negative thought patterns that choke the growth of our soul. John also talked about aligning with the soul's perspective. What does that mean exactly? How does the soul's perspective differ from the ego's perspective?
The ego's perspective is limited by fear, the need to control, and the belief in separation. It perceives the world as dangerous, full of threats and scarcity. The soul's perspective, on the other hand, is rooted in love, connection, and abundance. It sees the world as a place of infinite possibility where everything is interconnected and working together for the highest good.
So it's about shifting our focus from what divides us to what unites us, from seeing ourselves as isolated individuals to recognizing that we're all part of something much larger than ourselves.
Exactly. It's about expanding our awareness to encompass the whole instead of just the part. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness, that we're all in this together.
And when we see the world through that lens of love and connection, it changes everything, doesn't it? Our relationships, our work, our interactions with the world, everything takes on a new meaning and purpose.
It's like tuning into a different frequency, a frequency of love, compassion, and joy. And when we vibrate at that frequency, we attract more of the same into our lives. We become magnets for love, abundance, and all the good things the universe offers.
Now that's a frequency I want to be tuned into. But let's be realistic. Life isn't always sunshine and roses.
Yeah.
We face challenges, setbacks, even tragedies. How do we maintain that sense of love and connection during difficult times?
That's when it's even more crucial to remember who we truly are, to connect with that inner source of love and strength. It's about choosing to see challenges as opportunities for growth, learning, and transformation. It's about trusting that even in the midst of darkness, there's a light guiding us, a love holding us, a wisdom unfolding.
So it's not about denying the pain or pretending everything is okay, but about choosing to see the situation through the eyes of the soul, with compassion, understanding, and faith.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that even the most difficult experiences serve a purpose, teach us valuable lessons, and help us evolve into who we're meant to be.
And sometimes the greatest growth emerges from the most challenging experiences. It's like the saying, the most beautiful flowers bloom in the darkest of places.
I love that.
John also briefly touched on the presence of beings from other planets. Beings, he believes, are here to help us navigate this transformation. While it may seem like a fringe idea, it's a concept explored in many spiritual and even scientific circles. Is there a place for this idea in a discussion about NDEs and finding our way home within?
It's certainly a thought-provoking concept, and one that pushes the boundaries of what we typically consider within the realm of NDEs. However, I think it speaks to a larger theme that often emerges in these experiences, a sense of interconnectedness that extends beyond our earthly realm, a recognition that we might be part of a much grander cosmic tapestry than we realize.
It invites us to consider the possibility that we're not alone in the universe.
Yeah.
And that perhaps there are other forms of consciousness, other dimensions of existence that we're only just beginning to glimpse. We've covered so much ground today and explored some truly profound concepts. But before we wrap up, I want to circle back to something John said that really resonated with me. The idea of finding our way home within ourselves. What does that mean to you?
To me, finding our way home within ourselves means connecting with that deepest, most authentic part of ourselves. The part that's eternal, the part that's connected to source, to that universal web of love and wisdom. It's about recognizing that we're not just our physical bodies, our thoughts or emotions, but something much vaster, something that transcends the limitations of the material world.
It's about remembering who we truly are, about returning to that place of peace, love, and joy that resides within each of us.
Exactly. It's a journey we're all on, whether we're aware of it or not. And it's a journey worth taking because it leads us to the greatest treasure of all, the discovery of our true selves.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this episode of Afterlife Message. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the mysteries of life, the universe, and everything in between. We hope this conversation has been insightful and thought-provoking. Remember to subscribe, like this episode, share it with your friends, and hit that bell icon so you don't miss future explorations. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep shining your light.
See you next time.